That's your next step. To live in the possibilities, not just in the probabilities. And to realize that you're in it for the long game. And the reason you're in it for the long game is because you're actually here to awaken, and you're not here about the day-to-day. Your job here, I know, is very important, to do your life as best you can, to do the things you can do to make it better, and to make sure that you unfold your capacities in this world. But there is something I think which is even more primary, is that you are here also to awaken to your divine nature. As we say in our mission statement, we are a spiritual community awakening to our divine nature through love, service, and personal transformation. To awaken, to liberate you from this experience such that you needn't suffer excessively. There may be pain, and there may be loss, and there may be disappointment, but it is not everything. Been quite a week, huh? Many things we didn't expect have happened. We were in a staff meeting on Wednesday. We have a staff meeting every Wednesday, but this week staff meeting was going to be one, planning out the year. I don't know how we planned that, because that was wrong timing. Because really what we wanted to talk about was what had happened in the last 24 hours. And in that time, as we sat around the table, I was struck that I was feeling rather weird, actually. I don't know if any of you had that experience, but I was having this rather weird experience because actually felt like I was feeling something that wasn't mine. It was a collective or a bunch of people's experience. And I was really hoping to find the words that would land today that would not offend other people who didn't feel that way, but that would somehow be of comfort to those who were feeling like they had really lost. And I was searching my own experience, my own internal experience, while in many ways I was feeling okay, but I knew I wasn't, the collective I was feeling was not feeling okay. And Tammy sent me something, and it was a commentator on CNN, and he leaned over, the part where I tune into this was, he leans over to someone and says, I know what you're saying, I understand it, but I want to say this. I see it differently. And what he said was really quite succinct and clear, and I'll try my best to paraphrase what he said. He said, the elites are not the only one, and really aren't the ones, who will be paying for this. Many of you know the conversation, basically, that it's the arrogance of the elite that alienated so many people that caused a shift in the demographics so that it was such a wholesale defeat for the Democratic side, that people had felt like they'd been talked down to, and therefore they were angry, or therefore they were identifying with someone who would say words that seemed harsh and critical, because that's how they had felt themselves. So that's what the guy was agreeing to. He said, I understand you, but what I'm really saying here, what I think is that they will not be the ones who pay the price. It will be the people who themselves have known what it is to be talked down to and not respected. That the black women of this country know themselves what it's like to be not listened to, not be understood, and to be denigrated. And that the people who are taking your laundry at the cleaners and who don't have papers, and the people who are cleaning your teeth and don't have papers, they're scared. And they have fears. And the people who have a transgender child, they will feel like you have stepped on their space to step up into power. Those are the people who will be suffering. And it must have been those people that I was feeling on Wednesday that had me feeling like I was out of sorts, that somehow I was in a fog, I couldn't really tell what was coming next. And it was interesting that within 24 hours of that, I was talking to someone I had agreed to before I went there to talk to her, not to speak politics. This was actually on Monday. I decided not to speak politics. We had both decided that. And I had a lovely conversation with somebody who had been on the winning side. And it wasn't because she was on the winning side, it was because she's a very intelligent, generous person that had taken interest in me and the things I do for a long time. And so here, this is where we sit, isn't it? We have people who are really good people on both sides. I've heard that phrase before, but we are playing out something. Don't you feel that that's what's really happening? We're playing out something, and we are like puppets in this thing, and there's no puppet master out there. It's like we're just playing this out as though we were not awake to who we really are. And that lack of awareness of who we are has really caused us so much grief throughout our lives. And this is not the only day in which we have felt out of sorts, or we have felt victorious only to feel later like maybe that wasn't the right decision, or we have lost, and sometimes we might feel like, well, maybe there was a golden lining in it. We don't really know the next unfolding, and sometimes we have to ask, what can we do when we see the predictions and we don't like what they predict? As a matter of fact, I had to set up a long-standing conversation, an appointment that it was long-standing, with a man I knew who advised corporations on how they could reduce their carbon footprint, because in the middle of the summer, I had been so hot, I was quite depressed about where it seemed like the nature of the planet was going. And this is a guy whose job is to tell people, no, it's worth investing in green or whatever he tells them to do, because this guy must have hope. And I wanted to see what it was about. So I had made an arrangement. I knew him from mutual friends. And you know what he told me, and I was really disappointed. Not really disappointed. I would hope for some magic bullet that he would come forward with, but he'd say, well, actually, you know, there's this technology that is just going to take all these problems away. And what he said instead was, this deep ecologist that had been warning for some time about humans' arrogance, about being this only species that mattered, was also saying that these systems are so complex, there's so many factors in it that we cannot really predict absolutely what's going to happen. And in not being able to predict what can happen, anything can happen. Any possibility is out there. And while the probabilities look like this, it could end up over there. And I had to, so I said, so you substitute possibility for probability? That's how you do your sanity? And he didn't answer, but that had been the case, really. He was living in the possibility, not just in the probability. And in some ways, on a very human level, when the fan has been hit, that's your next step. To live in the possibilities, not just in the probabilities. And to realize that you're in it for the long game. And the reason you're in it for the long game is because you're actually here to awaken, and you're not here about the day-to-day. Your job here, I know, is very important, to do your life as best you can, to do the things you can do to make it better, and to make sure that you unfold your capacities in this world. But there is something I think which is even more primary, is that you are here also to awaken to your divine nature. As we say in our mission statement, we are a spiritual community awakening to our divine nature through love, service, and personal transformation. And in the next 4 or 24 years, those 3 things may save your bacon. Because to awaken is to liberate you from this experience such that you needn't suffer excessively. There may be pain, and there may be loss, and there may be disappointment, but it is not everything. I want to read you something from the book called The I Am Discourses, one of my favorite texts. I've never shared it with you much. The reason is it's too special for me. I'm not kidding. I give you everything I know. Every once in a while I want to keep something for myself. But today, let's hear this. As one by one you come into the ascended state, you will have many a hearty laugh over the seeming importance of these outer problems of the physical or outer world. For they are all but the Maya, which means the constant change. Remember, there is only one thing in the universe that is permanent, real, and eternal. And that is the I Am presence, God in you, which is the owner, the creator, and the intelligence governing all manifested form. Then to know that you are the presence, that I Am presence places you, beloved student, independent of all outer manifestation. It's really, we're doing this book, and we're still on this book called Practical Metaphysics by Eric Butterworth. We're on that book, and that book was written about 40 years ago, out of a lecture about 40 years ago. And I think it's a brilliant book, and it's a bit challenging, but it says it in a certain way, and I'm going to say it in a different way. Here's what I think the task in front of us is today, and will be until it becomes our generalized experience, which is to be aware of your awareness. And I know that doesn't sound like much, and the reason is it's not much. It is reversing your attention from always focusing on Maya, on the change, and resting your attention on the I Am. And that I Am is really simple. It is not complex. It does not take decades for you to get it. It is an invitation that I'm offering you to a very simple awakening. An awakening that is not nothing, but it's based on nothing. And that nothing, no thing, is your own awareness, which has been with you the whole time. It is actually the eternal aspect of you. It is that consciousness that we often equate with God. And I don't even use that word because usually it brings up something other. And this is something self. This is who you are. At your deepest, you are this awareness. And you don't have to go to Mars or India or even out of this seat that you're in right now. You don't have to go anywhere to wake up to who is the core of who you are. Your divine nature. What do we call that divine nature? The great I Am. So if I said, who's got a toothache? And you would say, I do. And I would say, who's having this experience? And you would say, I am. And you are on the verge of awakening the very moment you say it. You're right there. Because the I Am is this still place, this no thing, this no object, this non-existent, non-physical, non-thingishness, not Maya at all. It is the one that is aware of everything and is always there, right there with you. It has been described as the screen on which the movie is played. And we look at the movie, which I was just talking about the movie, you know, how People are having these extreme experiences these days and contrasting understandings, etc. And it is a movie playing out on the screen, and it's fantastic, and it is compelling, and we have been intoxicated with it forever. And then you cut the screen off, and you happen to look at the screen, now you're looking at I am. Because when a new thing comes on the screen, the I am is still there, but the content has changed. The Maya has changed. The part that has been difficult or exciting, or that has just changed. And what you see when you cut your mind away from the story, you see the screen. And I have sat in front of my own TV and tried to look at the screen, and I found it quite difficult to see right through the movie. And I think that's what's happened to us. Is it's so obvious, it's there. You can't have a movie without the screen, and yet what we notice is the movie, and we can't seem to remember the screen until something shifts. And then you go, oh, right, the screen. So I have a class on Thursdays. Normally, that class has anywhere from 12 to 20 people, and that on Thursday we had 36. People want something other than what they have at the moment, right? And why is that? Is because we are, for lots of reasons, but I'm selling something here. They want it because the content wasn't fitting what they wanted. And so what I'm offering you is the container. Not a change in the content, but a change in your identity. To change from being in that whirl to being the one that holds the whirl. And how do you do it? I'm going to tell you, but you're not going to believe me. I promise you. You'll walk right out of here and forget everything I said. It sounds like the Matrix, doesn't it? Have a cookie, you'll forget everything we said. Ask yourself the question, who's having this experience? Ask it any time of day, anywhere you are, at any time. And then feel, look, intend to know who's having this experience. And the first answer to that is I am. And why do you think in the Bible the burning bush says I am that I am? I am that I am that you have always had. It's like right next to you. You think it's someplace that a guru will teach you, or you need Shaktipat to have it, or maybe something radical must happen. You must have a tingling sensation. I am. That's the beginning, right there at the beginning. This has always been there. I am, the witness state. And I've been thinking about how this works, because the witness state, actually I got this a bit from Michael, so forgive me, Michael. Michael said there was the witness state and then this natural process, is that the right word? NP, what, anyway. He doesn't even know what he said. You know, Michael's going to have a class today. You should go to it. Michael's going to have a class on the Beatitudes. It'll last an hour and a half, starts at 1. And Michael has a great deal of wisdom because he's been in the Vedic tradition so long, and they know this stuff. They know the deeper possibilities of understanding that come from recognizing your true nature. And that's why I think Michael's such a valuable teacher for us. Because our path here is to awaken to our divine nature. And I am really excited about this idea that we stop asking the question, what would Jesus do, and be Jesus. Amen. Right? So, you know, when you get really afraid, they scare the be Jesus out of you, right? How about we get down into it where we cannot be frightened? You can't take this from No one can take this from you under any circumstance if you will develop it. This has become the witness. And right next to the witness is the experience that comes with being in the witness. And that experience is called love. Because when you're in the witness state, all that you see can be all that you love. And as Jesus would say, love your enemies. Or, well, he wasn't particularly fond of his enemies. It was that you just love and you don't stop at the edge of your friendships. You move, it goes everywhere. When you're being Jesus and not trying to do what Jesus said, you're not so much efforting as you're just allowing that which is who you really are to flow through you. And the trick is not to do so much heavy lifting by trying to force yourself to be a nice person. So all you buttholes out there, take note. Instead of that, become the presence itself. Become the I am. Sit in the seat of awareness. Answer the question, who's having this experience? I am. And when you are there, feel it. Feel that one presence. Because this is what connects you to all the consciousnesses that say, I am. There is just one I am out there. Parading around is lots of us. And when you hang tight with the I am, you're now in another place. Or as it said, when you ascend, you're going to laugh at many of the things you thought were horrible. Not saying it's easy, not saying it's a perfect, beautiful world. I'm saying you're going to be in a different place. You're going to be the container and not the content. You're going to be the screen and not the movie. You're going to be wise and not carried by the storms of life. It's a simple solution. I am certain that if we can help each other by doing this, if we will drop into that place of I am the awareness, you will look out on the world and it will be fascinating. It will not make the world duller, less important. It will be a place of play rather than a place of suffering. So sit in the I am. Let's do it now. Just allow yourself to sit. You can close your eyes, or some of us do it better with our eyes open, but let's start for most of us with our eyes closed and feel I am. Feel into that. Who's having this experience? I am. Let this be your home base. Let this be your home base. You'll have lots of experiences that will show up on the screen, but some part of you is just the awareness that is looking. Are you aware of your awareness? Are you aware of your awareness? And when you catch that, realize you can come back to that any time. And the more often you come back to it, the more it will be stabilized in you as your new identity. You are the awareness. You're not the content of the awareness. Even your thoughts and feelings are part of the content. You're the awareness itself. On this, you may rest. Be still and know that I am God. And so it is. Amen. I hope you got something out of today's service. We intend to bring you things that will help you in your life become more of who you want to be, give you the freedom of forgiveness and the hope of expectancy that your life will unfold in a way that brings you joy, happiness, and is a contribution to the world. If you would like to contribute to this ministry, please go to unitytriangle.org, hit the donate button, and it will lead you into an easy way of doing that. We thank you for your attention and look forward to seeing you again here.